what I thought was I would like to touch upon certain other issues that go around rather than just economics. So that, and with the intention, these are just straight thoughts with the intention that people can think about it and look at it from various angles. Let me begin with I'm by nature a very optimistic individual, but I wish I could share the optimism of Zubair Saab. I thought he really stood by, held on to his fort and fought very well. Unfortunately, I really am not terribly optimistic about Pakistan-US relationship in the next 10 years' time. And everything is relative in today's world. Yes, during the Cold War period, we had India, China, Russia. India was aligned with the Soviet Union. China was a communist state. The Khomeini came into like Iran. And so we actually were like historically we've always acted like a satellite state to the US. So we had kind of a monopoly on our relationship, and it worked mutually well. Then, of course, we had the post-Cold War with the breakup of the Soviet Union. There again, the dynamics changed, and I'll not get into it because I'm sure all of you guys know that. And then we had the post-9/11. So it's been a very dynamic situation that has been changing around us. As we stand today, our relationship with US, and I think we've seen the inconsistencies in the Pakistan-US relationship, and it's viewed very differently. For them, it is a business arrangement. Nations do not operate as individuals. There's no such thing as friend. There was a quote, it said that being an enemy of US is dangerous. Being a friend of US is fatal. So I think, and I think there is some kind of truth to it, in the sense that nations operate purely on their strategic interests, and strategic interests keep on changing all the time. Nations are not like individuals. हमने आपके साथ दोस्ती कर दी, and आपने ये क्या कर दिया. And this is how, unfortunately, we view a relationship between nations, whereas in the US it's an absolutely business transaction. We see the US heads of states coming, or senior officials coming in, meeting our heads of states. We just see them on like TV, and it's a very business-like relationship. They talk about the amounts, age, etc. coming in, and they talk about these are the deliverables. This is how they kind of view it. We are looking at India kaisa kya, and they've de-hyphened the relationship long time ago, and we're still comparing India ke saath aisa kya, to hamare saath aisa kyun nahi kiya. I think we need to get out of this, and whether we like it or not, this is the ground reality, and the sooner we accept it, the better we would be. Dr. Saab mentioned about the unpopularity of the US and Pakistan, and the figure is really very high, and I think the misperception in the US is about that why are these people, why is US, I met a lot of US officials in like Washington. This was about 6 months ago, and the first question was, why are we so hated in your country, despite of our long association? And I said, madam, the word hate is a wrong word, because if you start hate, then you're talking about ideological reasons, etc. That's not the case. A proper word is people are more cheesed off with the US because of the past performance, and I think that needs to be looked at, the core reasons. And I think Hillary Clinton did finally last year started off with this, and that was a new beginning, that they admitted, yes, we had let down Pakistan. Otherwise, there wasn't even an admission before 2 years ago. So I'm saying that there are, so currently as we stand today, it's war on terror. That is the focal point of the relationship between US and Pakistan. War on terror has two issues. Number one, it has a negative connotation. Number two, it is a temporary thing. We all know this thing will phase out sooner or later. And while no matter how much assurance a US administration gives to us, and to be honest, maybe in the best of sincerity, as we all know, in the US, administrations change, and Congress and the other lawmakers have a big part in the decision making. And Hillary Clinton, when she was part of the Congress, part of the Senate, I think she was part of the Senate, am I correct? Yes. So she had said that only 20% of the lawmakers in the US have a passport. All right, now whether it's 20% or 30%, but that shows that 60, 70, 80% of the lawmakers in the US have not stepped out of its boundaries. So the level of ignorance is extremely high, and I would always argue the ignorance is by choice, not out of just pure circumstances, because in today's information age, they have access to anything and everything at the press of a button. So I feel that the Congress is known to be very fickle, very short-minded. O.J. Simpson trials come, then that takes up media front pages. Michael Jackson death came. So I'm saying Afghanistan, we've seen in the past, Afghanistan, Pakistan had 3 to 4 million refugees that we just went out of their radar screen. And not only were we, did India emerge, but also I think we had the Pressler Amendment that kicked in, etc., etc. So I think with these circumstances, I think today's topic, as well as US-Pakistan economic partnership, absolutely right that partnerships are only sustainable in the long run purely through investments and creation of businesses. It creates vested interests in each other's countries, where they can withstand jolts, whatever that might happen on social, political, cultural levels. If there are any jolts, the sustainable vested interests do try and withstand that. But even on the economic front, if you see, to look at Pakistan's economy, with our current situation and with our outlook on growth, I think we'll be a very stressed out country for the coming years. So we will not be on the economic radar screen where it will create an interest for a country like US to really create partnerships. Yes, we might have certain partnerships going on, but it's a question of relative this thing. You have China, which is like huge. India, again, huge investment. So if you compare relatively to China and India, Pakistan's economic partnership with Pakistan, with the US, will be a fraction of what they will be, and they are actually progressing. We, with our security issues, social issues, so many other issues, and I don't want to get into them. I don't see the economic partnership between US and Pakistan to be really vibrant and growing in the next 10 years. So I think, again, the challenge really is that can we do something about it or not? Because war on terror is a temporary phenomenon. The leadership challenge for Pakistan is on both sides is, can we use this as a window of opportunity to somehow build sustainable long-term partnerships between the two countries, between the two societies. I think, and I blame our country as well as equally, as I don't want to sound like someone who is blaming the US, we are equally responsible, perhaps in some ways, perhaps more, because hearts and minds are not only to be won in Pakistan and Afghanistan and in the Muslim world, they have to be won in the US as well, right? And we really need to ask ourselves, how much effort have we made to win hearts and minds in the US? Just doing this blame